Hi everyone, it's Lisa from A Simple Season. I went grocery shopping today and I think we are heading into some tough times because when you're paying $4.50 for the cheapest eggs on the shelf in the area that I live in, I feel like the writing is pretty much on the wall, and I think we're just starting to see some really big cracks in our food supply. So let's talk about it. So while I don't consider myself a prepper in the end of the world sense, I do like to be prepared for what I think are going to be likely scenarios. So when we're seeing things like conflicts overseas and higher input costs for farmers and restrictions being put on fertilizer use for large-scale farms, and then also we have governments initiating green initiatives that are making things not only more expensive, but less available as well. There's no question that these are uncertain times. So instead of getting stressed out about it, let's just prepare ourselves the best way we can. So let's talk about some ways that we can prepare for an upcoming food shortage. First of all, there is no need to panic buy. If you're going to the grocery store, buy 2 or 3 extra of whatever it is that you use. So if you're using spaghetti sauce and you need it for a meal, buy that jar that you need for your meal and then get 2 or 3 extra to put in the pantry. When you're done that jar of sauce, the next time you go to the store, buy 2 or 3 more and put them away. That way you're able to build up your stockpile without having to put out a humongous outlay of cash all at once. And also, don't pay too much attention to the expiration dates. I mean, you can use them as a guideline, but I'm still working on peanut butter that I've had that's dated 2020. And I had some on my toast this morning and it was just fine. The next thing is start growing things. And I'm already starting to plan my garden for next spring, trying to figure out what crops I'm going to put where and to see where I can expand some more growing space. And even if you don't have a ton of space, you can grow lettuce in containers on a balcony in your apartment. And lettuce is really one of the easiest crops to grow. Just throw some seeds into some potting soil in a container and water, and with a bit of sun, and you've got lettuce. So try to grow as much as you can. Buy local as much as you can. And if there's no way that you can grow any of your own food, or maybe you just don't want to, try to find a local supplier that you can support and buy their products. Because it's actually quite shocking when we realize that a lot of the food that we buy comes from just a few really large corporations and large-scale farms. So if anything happens in terms of a disruption with those companies, whether it be packaging or supplies or anything with the delivery system, that translates into empty spots that we see on the shelves. So try to support your local economy. Also, to the best of your ability, gather up as many essential non-food items as you can. So a couple of extra jerry cans of gas for your car, building supplies, feminine hygiene products, soap, candles, rubbing alcohol, dish soap, over-the-counter pain medication like Tylenol or stomach medication or cold medication. All of these things, because when there tends to be food shortages, and maybe it's due to packaging or some shortage of a common ingredient that goes into a lot of different things, it tends to have a ripple effect to other products as well. And then when people tend to learn about these shortages, they tend to panic buy. So get ahead of that curve, have a few extra put away so that you have a reliable backup source, so that if there is a disruption, you have some stockpile to fall back on. The next thing is learn to preserve food. Things like applesauce and jams and pickles are all really easy things to do, and you probably have most of the things that you need to do that stuff in your kitchen already. But also stock up on things that you need to preserve food, like a few gallons of vinegar, glass jars, and the lids that you use. Maybe a jar lifter or a funnel just to make your job a little bit easier. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do any canning videos. I'd be happy to oblige. But learning to preserve food is paramount. The next thing is buy whole grains that last a long time. And the best choices for that are pasta, white rice, rolled oats, popcorn, and cornmeal. All of these grains will last a long, long time if you put them away in a glass jar away from heat and light. They will last years. And these things are great staples to have to round out your meals when other filler type items become more expensive. You will have these to round out your meals. Also remember your pets, not only food for them, but any medications that they might need. One thing to remember with pet foods, particularly dry pet food, is only store a few months at a time. Don't store a year's worth of dry cat food or dry dog food. And the reason for this is because the dry food has oils in it, it will go rancid over time. The canned food is just fine. You can stock up on that as much as you like because just like people food, it's pressure canned at a high temperature, so it's safe to eat past the expiration date. So dry food, just store a little bit at a time, just enough to last you maybe 3-4 months if you can do that. But the canned food, you can certainly store a lot more of that. The next thing is put what's important first. There is no question that when you're building your pantry or coming up with your stockpile of essentials, it does require an outlay of cash. And not everyone is in a position to purchase everything all at once, and it has to be done over time. So coming up with some of that money might just be as simple as canceling some apps that you don't use, or maybe selling some of that stuff that you have laying around in your garage that you're not using. Someone I know just sold a bunch of vintage Christmas ornaments and decorations, and they're using that money to stock up their pantry, which I think is a great thing. The important thing is to just put your focus on what you want to achieve and look at ways that you can simplify your life to achieve it. Another thing that I think is really important is I think it's time that we stop wasting food. And this is something that I'm really trying to get better at. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking all of my carrot skins, my onion skins, celery ends, potato peelings, all of that kind of thing, and putting it in a Ziploc bag and sticking it in the freezer. And then when the bag is full, I pull it out and make veggie stock out of it. And I did this just yesterday and it turned out so good. And the next thing I'm doing is if I make a casserole and I have a little bit of casserole left over, but it's not enough to make a leftover meal out of for somebody. Normally in the past, sometimes I would throw that out. I was guilty of that, I admit it, but now I don't do that anymore. I put the leftover in a Ziploc bag in the freezer, and then the next time I make soup, I pull it out and add it to whatever soup I'm making. And again, I did that last week and it turned out really, really well. So let me know in the comments, what are you doing to reduce your food waste? Because it's really good that we all help each other out with new ideas. The last and most important thing is to build a community of good people around you, because a group of like-minded people is the sum of all its parts, with everyone's knowledge base and skill set that are there to help each other out and help each other thrive. So hopefully you will have gotten something good out of this list. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Take care, everyone. Thanks so much for joining in, and we'll catch you in the next one.